The current version of the program is reporting that 0 is a negative number. Obviously, this is incorrect. Recall that Antonia mentioned an else if block, which can also be added to if statements. But to begin, let's roll back to the version of the code that we use with 3 independent if statements. I do this simply because it was the version that worked correctly with all 3 inputs. So again, I'll just replace it with 3 if statements that originally solved our problem for reporting positive, negative, and 0. And so this time, let's work on the new feature of this program, because Python has another special block of code that combines the if statement and else block into a single construct called else if, but it's spelled out in Python as elif. Okay, so let's make this change, it's very small. So all we do is basically say elif, which means else if, and in other words, we can say that if statement followed by one or more else if blocks of code with secondary conditions forming unique, mutually exclusive set of choices. The way the work is done here is that we say that we have the first condition and then some sort of secondary condition. If the first condition is true, then this block of code executes. If this first initial condition is false, then else if will allow the secondary or subsequent condition to execute. And by the way, if we wanted to, we could have more else if blocks inside this if statement. This is just a demonstration. We don't need to have it. Really, right? So, finally, if this condition was not true and this condition wasn't true either, then we can simply replace the last if statement, currently independent in if statement, simply with an else. So we truly have created a code with this if statement, with else if, and with an else that makes these 3 mutually exclusive choices for positive, negative, and a 0. So I hope that this code should be running fine. I'm going to clear my screen and clear my screen and rerun it. So positive looks good. Then we try it with the negative value. -5 looks pretty good. And again, the final case 0, also simply reporting that this is a 0. Everything is working well again. And this time, the 3 independent if statements were replaced by 3 mutually exclusive choices, which makes the program more efficient. So comparing it with 3 individual if statements to this new version with else, else if, and else, makes it more efficient. Why? Because if positive number is the most common type of input, for example, that we expect from the user, the rest of the conditions really never tested. They don't have to be evaluated because this was already decided that this was true, and this portion of the program does what it's supposed to do and handles everything that we need to make our decisions. And then if when our if statement is executed in a loop, the fact that if the earliest if condition which is true does what it's supposed to do. If this is executed repeatedly many times in a loop, a very tiny gain of performance can actually run significantly faster. And definitely faster than the original code that was using 3 independent if statements. So I recommend that you experiment with all examples in the current chapter of the book, as well as programming exercises at the end of the chapter. They're pretty interesting challenges there to try, challenges at the end of the chapter to try. And this should prepare us for the next set of challenges as we are about to start working with loops and make programs that repeat certain computational tasks multiple times.